I was a 13 Fox in the Army, a forward observer. I called for an adjusted artillery and mortar round, staff sergeant when I got out, 10th Mountain and the 4th ID, 8.5 years. 2.5 of those, almost 3, I was working with Kurt directly. 2 tours overseas, 1 to Afghanistan, called about 400 fire missions, certified joint fires observer, 35 of those live drops. My name's Jeffrey Albert and I have PTSD.
Okay, so I was in the vehicle rollover in Afghanistan.
Right.
And I had never considered that a traumatic stressor in my life. It ended with me getting hit in the head with a can.
Yeah.
It was pretty heavy, but I had my helmet on. And I can report this is probably the only accident to have ever happened in the Army where every passenger was wearing their seatbelt and everything in the vehicle was tied down.
Why were you guys wearing your seatbelts? That's the bigger question.
The bigger question is we'd been in country less than a month, so people hadn't started getting complacent.
Yeah.
But I've always said safety doesn't take a holiday, so I always wore my seat. I'd seen people thrown from vehicles, and I was like, oh.
I'm trying to think if
that was in garrison.
I'm trying to think if I wouldn't even. I don't think I'd even wear my seatbelt. I would put it on at night, though. I mean, it's hard to put it on over body armor. You guys had it on.
Kirk, I got like 70 pounds on you, and I would still put it on.
Yeah. All right, so what happened?
So, I was in Houston, and 4 days before this, I was driving in Colorado, and I was driving, and it was all snowy and stuff outside, and as I was driving, I hit a patch of black ice, and my car slid into a wall, and my Jeep ended up getting totaled out. It wasn't even a bad wreck, but I was pretty upset about it. 4 days later, I was in Houston for Thanksgiving with my family, and we had a rental car, and as things always do on a highway, traffic came to a stop the way it should. So I slowly stopped, and the guy behind me, I'm guessing, was texting.
Yeah.
But he wasn't paying attention, and he slammed into the back of us. And so when that happened, just having my family in the car, that instant, it happened unknown.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something I expected to happen.
It's not like a music video either, too, where you start having like flashbacks to like rolling over in Afghanistan.
No, absolutely not.
You don't feel like you're in uniform all of a sudden and you're in body armor.
No, it was just an accident, and it was a sense of fear, and I don't even know that the two events were related. In talking to doctors at the hospital, they said that because I was in that rollover in Afghanistan, that it could have been, or it was likely, a traumatic event that caused a certain PTSD for me, that when I got in that same event with my family, and I felt that primal sense of fear, the protecting everybody, when that happened, it became a huge trigger in PTSD, and I thought I was okay afterward. But as the weeks went on, following the car accident, I really started to get angry, and I was having really bad lows, really high highs. I was having mood swings. I was having suicidal ideations. I was really not doing okay.
Yeah.
There were definitely things building up, and like I said, slow changes over time, so I didn't realize I was changing. I just still felt like I was me. It was my wife that saw somebody different. And at one point, I was arguing with my wife, and I was standing on the stairs, at the top of the stairs, and she was at the bottom. And while we were arguing, I fainted, and I just fell down the stairs. No idea what happened. My body just shut down. So I had to go to a mental hospital and get some help for that. The first part of the experience was absolutely awful. I didn't think that I was having some PTSD episode caused by this car wreck. I thought I was I didn't know. Yeah. I just didn't realize what was going on with me. Yeah. My wife recognized that something was going on, and when I had fainted and fallen down the stairs, she called the Veterans Crisis Line. Okay. She just knew something was up, and they ended up talking to me, and they recommended I go get some inpatient treatment. I called my brother, and he recommended that I go get some inpatient treatment.
How did she convince you to
Honestly, it was the suicidal ideations. They ended up putting me on a 72-hour psych hold, and so I really didn't have a choice in being there. But I made a mistake, and I just went to the first one available.
Gotcha.
I didn't check available resources. My first inpatient experience wasn't good because I just went to a general facility. And so they had no resources really to deal with anything specialized in military.
What was your experience like at the ward in Denver? I don't understand the difference. There's a general, and then this was specific, what was the name of this?
They called it the Hero Unit for military, first responders, police, firefighter. Dude, it's absolutely amazing. amazing. It's everybody that you talk to there is a veteran.
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with
There's shared understanding.
the one-on-one, the individual and group therapists had the military experience so that they could relate and really help you with their story of how they've overcome their PTSD.
Yeah.
Nothing was forced.
Oh, okay.
So, you get there.
How long did you stay?
I think it was 7 or 8 days.
Okay.
But you get there and you're scared because you don't know anybody.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get judged, you don't feel comfortable. Well, they don't force you to participate in anything.
Yeah.
If you don't want to go to group therapy the first day, then don't.
Yeah.
If you want to take a few minutes to get to know people, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's when you're ready, you go and you progress at your pace, and it's really just an understanding community.
Yeah.
There was a guy when I was there who had been there for like 4.5 months. I'm not going to share his life story, but his life story was things you couldn't have imagined.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrendous. He was, at the time, he was active duty, and he didn't even realize it. It dawned on him one day, suppressed memories came back. His life went from fine to spiraled out of control in less than a month. And he was there for 4 months dealing with it. And it was, at the end, he had these scars that were this long on his arm.
Yeah.
On both sides from where he had tried to kill himself. But he got better.
Yeah.
He did the work at his pace, and he got better.
Yeah.
Another benefit of the mental hospital was that I was actually diagnosed as bipolar,
Okay.
which has been one of the huge issues.
I've heard of bipolar. I don't really understand what that means. What does that look like for you?
I'm no doctor, so I'm by no
Like,
means
I think when
preaching
I'm
out of the New England Journal of Medicine here, but from what I understand, bipolar disorder is where a person experiences shifts in moods suddenly, where you'll go from a really, really, really high to a really low.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
it's the best you've ever felt in your life, and then 2 hours later, you're more depressed than you've ever been in your life.
Yeah.
And you're just this chipper, hyperactive person. You'll clean your whole house, and you'll be up, and you might sleep for a couple of hours over a couple of days.
Yeah.
And they're called manic episodes. I'm what's called bipolar 2, and my understanding of it is that you spend a little bit more of your time. The shifts aren't as dramatic, but you spend your time at a little bit happier as opposed to more of a depressed state. So you're more energetic and outgoing most of the time, but you still experience those really low lows. And I can, looking back on it, there were training events in the Army where in 3 days I slept for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Those were non-consecutive hours. And it never once bothered me. I never felt tired. And I was super productive the whole time. And I look back on it now, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
What can they do with that information? Okay, I'm bipolar.
So, here's what happened is prior to the accidents that I got in, I was on antidepressants because I had been feeling really, really, really depressed. That really kind of made things worse because when you're bipolar and you take antidepressants, they have the exact opposite effect. And again, I'm not a doctor, I can't speak to that. This is just my understanding of what I've been told by people who actually are doctors. So when I was taking those, it was making me worse. And so when all of these PTSD things happened, it really was just dominoes toppling over. It was more of the straw that crushed the camel's back at that point.
Let's talk about weed.
Let's talk about it.
So we're in Colorado, it's legal. You're out of the Army. How does it help you?